Hi everybody. Hi Net and YouTube. Hi everybody. Hi Net and YouTube. Welcome to the live. I'm just promoting the military coup next week in America. It'd be nice if they had a coup in Israel and Russia too, but the one I'm thinking about is here in America, scheduled for next week when Trump calls in all the generals. That would be the perfect time to coup. If the generals do coup, then we can save America from Trump pretty fast. I mean, we have actually faster methods to do it through the Congress, but the Congress has had plenty of opportunities and reasons to do that, and they haven't done it. So I'm thinking before Trump does this terrible takeover of the military that he's planning for next week, we should all just encourage the military to coup. Go ahead and do a coup, and just be real easy for these 100 generals or however many generals are showing up to this meeting for them just to go ahead and arrest Trump. I mean, to go ahead and arrest Hegseth and just say, this is it. We've arrested the Secretary of Defense, so we're doing a coup. And I don't really know, like, I think the smart thing for them to do is like give Trump some what do they call it? Some time. So what do they call that kind of time when you give somebody time to get away? Getaway time. Anyway, I can't remember the phrase for it, but give Trump some time to get away, a head start. Give Trump a head start and be like, we've taken over, so you can run away or you can turn yourself in or something and face the music, but you're not going to win. And I do think that's what we're facing next week at this meeting. I think Hegseth is going to try to get them all to swear like a loyalty oath and like a loyalty oath to Trump over their oath to the Constitution of the country. And so they're going to need to coup. Like they're going to need to prepare to coup. Or as I've been saying recently, better to have a plan to coup and not need it than find out you need a plan to coup and not have one. So hopefully they'll have a plan to coup, and again, maybe they won't need it. Maybe it's just like a surprise party for somebody or something. But if they do need it, they'll at least have a plan. And I don't think the plan needs to be that complex. I mean, I don't know how coups work, but I imagine if you arrest the Secretary of Defense, that's a coup. Like that would count. And you just say, we're going to take over because the Secretary of Defense and what he represents, the Trump administration, is, a traitorous regime. And I think, they have every right to do that. I think Trump pushing the military itself into um, a loyalty pledge, or uh, whatever else it might be. Trump taking over the military in this way, I think, should trigger their duty to the country, their oath to the country, to withstand any attempt to make them take an oath to just Trump. And really, your duty at that point is to go ahead and coup. Your duty is to go ahead and arrest Pete Hegseth. And yeah, I don't think it's going to take much more than that. If these generals go ahead and arrest Pete Hegseth and say, hey, we're taking over the country, then the country be in their hands. I think they'll get a lot of support from America. And the people that want to act up will be pretty few. They didn't act up for Charlie Kirk, so I don't think they'd act up too much. And again, it's not even, they don't have to kill anybody. They just arrest Pete Hegseth, announce that they're doing a coup. And if the generals do coup, then there's nothing really Trump can do. Like, that's the army. And I think we should be talking about it in advance, like, so they know, yeah, this is what we're expecting to happen at this meeting. If you ask them all to sign a loyalty oath, they're going to coup. They're going to take the country back from the Trump regime. They're going to either arrest Trump or let Trump know, get the hell out. You get, like I said, you get a head start. Maybe they'll give him a head start to get away. But who cares? As long as Trump's gone, then I think the American people will be happy. I think it'll be interesting to have, a military uh, rule in America, but it would just be probably for a year, 2 or 3 years tops. They'll either return to the regularly scheduled elections or maybe even call a special election before that. Because all you really need to do is get Trump out. It's not like our military wants to be in control of the country. They just should at this point. Like that's their duty. That's the way their oath and their job works out. Is they're required by their oath to the Constitution and uh, American people to go ahead and arrest Pete Hegseth, go ahead and coup at this next meeting next week. John Toomey says, I agree. Well, thank you, John Toomey. I'm very shocked that, uh, not that you agree, because I think it's just the American response, but I'm very shocked that we were allowed to talk to each other because I haven't seen any other content with this idea in mind on YouTube. So I'm very pleased and shocked that we're able to discuss this. But thanks for being here. Thanks for talking with me. And I think that that's really what it takes is just us talking about it right now. Um, I mean, I don't think the military doesn't have this idea. Like I was saying earlier, it's better to have a plan to coup and not need it than to find out you need to coup and you don't have a plan. And the military is all about some plans. So I think if they didn't already have a plan for when at what point they might need to coup during the Trump administration or the second Trump regime, they're probably hatching one right now. I mean, they should be hatching one right now because that's their duty to the country. They should be. If you and I, two random people on the internet, me, Puffin, and John Toomey, agree that the military needs to be planning a coup next week, they're probably on top of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they should know their job better than we do. When I'm not even a veteran or anything. I don't know about you, but I know, I know what the Constitution is. I know what America stands for. I know what the military stands for. So they should be prepared to coup and replace or remove Pete Hegseth next week at this meeting. And I think we should be talking openly about it. Like we should go ahead and get the Trump side scared. Maybe maybe that spoils the whole plan, and then they won't ask for the loyalty test. They'll just turn it into a big surprise party or something. What do you think, John Toomey? John Toomey said no, but I don't know what the no replies to. I don't know what the no applies to. But I think that instead of letting it be their opportunity to turn the country completely fascist by having only the loyal generals survive or whatever, um, never served. Okay, right. I forgot to ask you that question, or that was the question. Me neither. But still, like we both agreed that we need a coup. Like I'm not even really pro-military. I'm definitely not pro-war, but I'm not even pro-military. But I'm pro-military enough that I'm a lot more pro-military than I am pro-Trump. And I'm like, y'all need to go ahead and coup. Like this is the perfect opportunity. All you got to do is arrest Pete Hegseth. Who's gonna stop you at that point? And it's basically an announcement. It's saying, okay, we the military are going to represent the American people and take over the country. As a caretaker regime. Like countries do it all the time. It's not you know it's not a radical thing. It's just every now and then the military has to take over from a corrupt president or a compromised president, and we have both in Trump. So I've been saying for months that we need a path for the military to quit until Trump is gone. But when I heard about this meeting, it's like, no, you guys need to go ahead and coup. We need to go ahead and take over the country. Yeah, exactly. John Toomey says, I feel more safe with military in charge. I feel millions of times more safe, especially when you're talking about generals that are recognizing their duty to the country enough to go ahead and coup. To me, the fact that they're willing to coup shows they really take their job seriously. They really take their oath seriously. That they're kind of what you expect of American military generals. I remember when Trump was like, General Milley, I'd never do a coup with you. You're the last person they'd do a coup with. It's like, yeah, but the other generals will do a coup with him. It's like, I don't even know. General Milley, I guess, is retired. I'm not sure. But he's not the only one like that. He's not an exceptional general. He might be an exceptionally good general, but he's not an exceptional general in his Americanness or his understanding of his oath. I'm sure they all feel that way. Or if there's 5 or 6 that are going to sign Trump's loyalty pledge, the other 94 generals can arrest those 5 and 6 generals and Pete Hegseth at this meeting. I think we should be talking about this. I think if you were to talk about this, John Toomey, I have a highly suppressed YouTube channel, but if you were to talk about this, it might break out there. Since you seem to have the same ideas about it I do, just post a video about it, or at least post comments about it. You can comment on my videos about it. That'll help me get the word out there. But again, I don't think it's up to us to start, a trend and a hashtag, although I use the hashtag Pillow Revolution for lots of stuff. I just realized I have stuff on my face. I don't think it's up to us to start this trend or hashtag. I think the military knows its duty here, and the duty is to coup. It's like you've got plenty of support from the American people between all the terrible stuff Trump has done with the kidnappings, with the hmm, sorry, with the well, all the terrible things Trump has done with the dismantling of the government. It's like he's basically dismantling the military at this point if he's going to have, you know, a loyalty test. He's either dismantling the military or he's forcing them to coup. So I think they have to coup, and we have to be prepared for that. We have to say, yeah, we want the coup. We want the military coup. We'd much rather have military control than these, kidnappings, these continued wars, these destroying our economy with the tariffs, destroying all these people's livelihoods with the tariffs, not just the economy, but like people's actually work and stuff, and destroying the country, just like dismantling the country. So I think, and then on top of that, the Epstein files, um, the Charlie Kirk uh, killing, all this stuff, and just all the lies, like the lies on top of lies. I think he's got plenty of support from people that used to support Trump would definitely support a military coup right now. John Toomey says, I would think they have something planned. Exactly. They have to have something planned. They're the military. They plan for stuff. Like they plan for, I can't say all contingencies, but they plan for lots of contingencies. And this is a very obvious contingency. Like it's the first thought I had when I saw old Texas Paul's video this morning when I woke up about the meeting. It was the first way I heard about the meeting. Then I heard about some of it on NPR. They were reporting on it some. But when I heard about the meeting, I was like, oh, well, this is the time you better coup. You better get ready to coup. Better get your coup pants on when you go to the meeting, when you go to that meeting that day, because like, what are the other options? Again, if it's neutral or something, it's like a um, comparable to like a surprise birthday party for somebody. Well, great, y'all have fun. And if you have a plan to coup, then you don't need to coup if it turns out to be just like a surprise birthday party. But if it's surprise, Trump's going to be the king and you have to swear loyalty to the king. No, you just got to go arrest Pete Hegseth at that moment. And when you arrest Pete Hegseth, it's kind of on. Like you're kind of saying, hey, we're taking the country over. And I think we should just go ahead and be cheering that on in advance because um, they should know they have the support of the American people. It should be a trending topic. It should trend bigger and faster than bringing Jimmy Kimmel back. And I was definitely trying to help bring Jimmy Kimmel back. I'm not saying anything against that. I'm just saying, you know, whether or not Jimmy Kimmel got back on the air after a long weekend is not as important as whether or not we're preparing to save the country during this coming up weekend. And to me, it would be so safe and feel so comfortable to have the military in control. They can go ahead and coup and throw Trump out, and then we can start trying Trump. It's like there'd be all sorts of ways to try him, but I mean, I think he really does deserve to have um, his consequence, his crimes and stuff shown before him and the country. John Toomey says, so the highest ranking general could be president for a couple of years. I guess so. I mean, I don't know how it works. We've never done that before, but it would be fine with me. Like I'm not mad about it. And I think the truth is, if they took over from Trump, there's a lot of people who are seeing through the Trump stuff that includes seeing through the Israel stuff. So it might be a real turnaround. I think we would still support, or actually probably have much greater support than during the Trump years for Ukraine. We might have greater support for Ukraine and more support for Palestine, or just shut down Israel entirely in this genocide. I think we have the political will, the cultural and public will to do that. And I think when the military took over, they would respond to that overwhelming demand of the American people. The military, they're not trying to get reelected. They don't need to like please APAC or something. Or that's exactly, or a special election, because the military, it's not like the military's been aching to take over. We don't have that kind of military. They would be, in a hurry to get the country back under an elected president. So they could call a special election. We could kind of flip flop the general election and midterm elections, um, have a reset. So it'd be kind of interesting. All these people's predictions about 2028. No, it's 2026. We're going to have the the presidential election in 2026 now, and then have it 2030, 2034, 2038, so on and so forth. But yeah, they could easily call a special election, and I think that wouldn't be, it'd just be like, well, Trump can't run. Trump shouldn't have been able to run the last time. Like here in Colorado, we kicked him off the ballot, and then they made us put him back on the ballot. But there was every reason to kick him off the ballot if more states had done that, and if we stood up to the Putin captured Supreme Court. Um, just said, no, actually, we're not. How about the 9 of you come print our ballots for us? We're just printing them without him. You know what I'm saying? Like that could have turned into a bigger thing, and we could have kept him off. But again, that wasn't up to our attorneys general or whatever, our secretaries of state, or whoever runs our elections in each state to stop Trump. It was up to Biden. Biden should have arrested Trump, January 22nd. John Toomey says, who would think 20 years ago Trump would be president twice? I mean, but Putin, Putin, I think Putin had this plan. That's the other thing that I think our generals are obligated to coup because Putin runs Trump. That's one. We have a foreign enemy, a foreign adversary who just literally started a war with us through NATO, through attacking Poland and Netherlands now, I think he's attacking. So he just started a war with us. And of course, Trump's doing everything, killing Charlie Kirk and all this other stuff to keep us from joining, engaging that war. And it's like, he's your enemy. He's the enemy of the American people. He's the enemy of the American military. So go ahead and take him out. I don't see how you could be waiting for something more when what's coming up right now is apparently, something from the German Nazis playbook where they fired all the generals that weren't loyal. I don't know. I'm not a history buff. I don't know exactly how that went down. But again, I trust old Texas Paul, who first broke this news to me, when he says, yeah, this is what the Nazis did, the German Nazis. And I'm like, yeah, tracks, it's their brand, it's on brand for their armband. So we got to stop them. I think there's still other ways to stop them. Texas Paul's advice was after he purges the military, and I don't know if they're going to kill the generals that don't agree or what the hell they're going to do, but after they do this, then we can only boycott and stuff like that, which is, we can boycott. That'll be great. But I don't think we should just wait for them to get their way next week at the meeting with the generals. I think we should be expecting our generals to coup, and we should be expecting, a different America than we've ever had before. But it won't be that. It won't be as different as Trump's America is. From Trump's America is practically Russia too. But if the generals do coup, then yeah, it'll be the first time we've had a coup in America. But it'll probably be like the Biden, Clinton, Obama years. It'll just be, like regular America. Just will have a general for a president for, like you said, a year or 3 years. But even 3 years, like that's not a problem. Like again, I'm not. I'm sure the generals would bring in, qualified advisors and stuff. Again, a huge step up from what we have going on now. So, even if they were bringing in, you know, neutral or advisors from both sides or whatever they did, I'm sure it would be fine. Like, I think we should look forward to that. So, and mostly I think we should talk about it and encourage it. So there's 7 people in here, but 6 of them don't really want to talk. I appreciate John Toomey leaving comments and I appreciate the likes. But yeah, the whole idea is the military needs to coup next week. They're meeting Pete Hegseth. All the top generals are meeting Pete Hegseth. He's probably going to make them sign a loyalty oath. They just did the similar thing with the media. They were like, if you don't sign an oath that you will only report what we tell you to report, then you can't be in the, Pentagon journalism. John Toomey says, nobody looked into this. Looked into what? I think, so it's big news today that they're having this meeting next week. And it's very unprecedented and very, not just rare. I think maybe it's just never happened before. So literally unprecedented. And it probably is. I mean, it's precedent in Nazi Germany. Apparently, Nazi Germany, that when they did this, they fired all the generals that weren't loyal and stuff like this. And it seems like that. That's what it seems like. So I'm thinking our generals will be prepared to coup, and we should be talking about it. They don't need the element of surprise. We need to go ahead and scare these traitors, these Trump-Boutonniers, and let them know, we're coming for you. We're going to start with Pete Hegseth. We'll be arresting Pete Hegseth at this meeting, and that will be announcing the coup. And then, I don't see that anybody has to get hurt in it. I mean, unless these stupid Trump terrorists act out, I don't see that anybody needs to get hurt. They just take over and say, now we're in control. We're the military. And I also think that, like, if somebody else took over, then the Trump terrorists might get real mad and do stuff. But when it's the military, I mean, yeah, the super wacky ones, but they live in such remote places for the most part. They don't have like a whole lot of opportunities for human contact. So they might start driving 5 hours to go do some type of terrorism, but somebody would stop them. Nobody looked into this. Who would think 20 years ago be president twice? I think Putin thought so. Putin planned it. Putin had bought Trump in the mid 80s, 85, I think. They're definitely going to sit him down. You think they're going to sit Hegseth down? You think the generals will tell Hegseth to have a seat right over there? Or you think they're going to tell Trump to have a seat right over there? Just have a seat right over there, Trump. So yeah, I think it can be very exciting. Like I also think another thing that will happen if the military does coup is it'll be like spontaneous celebrations. Like we'll have parades for the military in towns across America. We'll have parties and celebrations on our phones and stuff. I don't know. I'm kind of excited about it, but I'm only excited. I would be more excited about it if they were openly talking about it too. Be like, yeah, we'll show up at your meeting, Hegseth, and if you have any loyalty oaths for you, you're leaving in handcuffs. We're taking you out, and we're taking Trump out with you. So, yeah, I really hope they have a plan. I'm disappointed that like they let all these rumors about the bullshit rapture, spread like wildfire on these platforms, but they're not going to let this type of conversation get anywhere. I feel like the only one talking about it, although you're talking about it too. I think it's on people's minds. It's probably on a lot of people's minds, but they're not going to let the people talking about it have an audience. So I'm pretty surprised that there's 9 of us in here now, but not surprised that only one other person's talking. But thanks for talking with me. Um, yeah, I usually get a bunch of trolls in here, and I don't know what they would have to say about it. I mean, they'll probably be pro-Trump and anti-military in this case, but I think the military's duty is to go ahead and overthrow Trump next week at their meeting with Hegseth. So I'm saying that for the benefit of the people that just came in. But yeah, I think we can help. I call it the Pillow Revolution because it can be a completely nonviolent, bloodless coup. It can be something that we all support from home. Trump's in here. He heard us talking about him. I guess he probably does watch YouTube. I mean, it's possible. Trump, change, stop. Trump, stop. Stop being who you are. Don't push the military to coup. Or go ahead. Just push the military to coup. But realize that the military is going to coup next week when they meet with Pete Hegseth. And um, we're changing America. We're taking it back from Putin, your master. So that's my message for Trump. Trump could even redeem himself by but he would have to flip on Putin. He would have to admit that Putin was the one behind what he's doing. Or, even if it was unintentional, if you waterboarded Trump, I think, what's the sound of waterboarding Trump is one of my favorite jokes. Um, the sound of waterboarding Trump is this: Putin, Putin, Putin. He's online all over the place. John Toomey says he's online all over the place. I kind of doubt he'd be here. But Eric Trump might be. He's like a second son. He took Charlie Kirk on as a second son. And Eric Kirk was Trump's second son. It's hilarious. Anyway, so I think the military should coup next week. Everybody's for it. Drop a like on the live or a heart in the chat. Or actually, argue with me if you disagree. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and presume that all 15 of you agree that we should have a military coup next week. They should take Trump out. They should arrest Pete Hegseth and just tell Trump, like, you can leave and we'll chase you slowly. Okay, Saber Gamer. A new challenger approaches. What does Saber Gamer have to say? Oh, and Hippie in the Hills has a blue, purple, and red heart. How pretty. But don't you agree that the military should coup next week? If you didn't know, Pete Hegseth is calling all the generals to a meeting next week. Intuition, and I think, history shows he's going to have them sign like a loyalty pledge to Trump that like betrays their pledge to America and the country and the people. And so they're going to have to coup. Like they should be planning to coup, arrest Pete Hegseth, and overthrow Trump. Saber Gamer says, "Hey, LOL. Look, it's the crackhead who has never heard of din, a dentist. A din. I don't know what that word is." Hippie in the Hills says, "Blue, purple, red, hearts. Thank you." And John Toomey was having a nice conversation with me because he was the first person to comment, and he also agrees we need a military coup next week, and it's going to be exciting. Like it's something I think we should all be celebrating and cheering on. John Toomey says Hegseth has some greasy hair. Yeah, he does. That won't help him slip away though. Broderick Arthurian, who I recognize. I've seen Broderick Arthurian before. I think he's a MAGA Trumper. He says, I think AI is about to expose everyone. I mean, it can only really expose people who've done bad things, right? Christian E says, howdy, Euless. Hello, Christian E. I go by Puffin, if you want to call me Puffin. Euless is just the name of the YouTube channel. But, welcome. We're just talking about how the military needs to coup next week. Military's meeting Pete Hegseth, like 100 generals meeting Pete Hegseth in a type of meeting that's never been happened before, and it's being called on very short notice. So all these generals are going to go there, and they should have a plan to coup and overthrow Trump. And all they got to do is arrest Pete Hegseth and say, doing a coup. Generals, doing a coup over here. And then it's pretty much done as far as I can tell. I think Trump doesn't have any card to play at that point. What's he going to send in ICE? Send ICE after the generals? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not going to work. Trump's building his little private army of ICE agents who, are beating up kids and moms and dads and shit. They can't handle the U.S. military. So I think the military coup can easily fix all of our problems. I mean, not all of our problems, but it really could fix a lot of our problems. It can fix our Trump problem. That's first and foremost. And then that's a huge blow to Putin right there. But then especially the military could just be like, you know what, let's finish this Ukraine thing. Mop that up real quick. And then the same for Gaza. I think they could just save the people of Gaza because I think the unique and beautiful thing about the military being in charge is they're not trying to get reelected. They're not trying to please AIPAC or something. They don't care about the lobbyists, and they damn sure don't care about the assassins. It's like, yeah, challenge accepted. If Netanyahu wants to send assassins after our military, yeah, Charlie Kirk, sure, nobody cares, but the military, nah, I don't think they put up with that shit. So anyway, I think military be the best ones to have in charge. What's Christian E have to say? Oh wait, I go by what? Puffin, Puffin. Here, I've got it on one of my paintings. Puffin like the little bird. Those little birds that swim and fly. Broderick Arthurian said, they already tried. They tried a coup? When did the military try a coup? They didn't try a coup. You'll know when they try a coup. Trump will be gone when they do the coup. When the generals do coup, I love being able to say that. When the generals do coup, you'll feel it. They're going to get Trump good. You ever seen that movie Civil War? No, it won't even be like that. It's going to be a bloodless coup. I call it the pillow revolution because we can do our part from bed. We can do our part completely non-violently, resting our heads on pillows and having a pleasant time. Okay. Christian E says, I am way more right than left, but Trump does not Republican beliefs. I think you're saying Trump does not represent Republican beliefs. Yeah, Trump's just anti-American. He's just completely anti-American. So I think that it should be real obvious that the military has a duty to coup. I think one reason I thought of this is because a YouTube video I saw. It's a soldier saying, you know, okay, I know things seem scary right now, but trust the military. And then he winks, and it's like, dude, I could just see in that wink he means they're gonna coup. Like they're planning to coup, and he can't say anything like that. This was a week or two ago. He can't say anything like that. But again, there's gotta like they know, they know if we know. John Toomey says the thing about Trump is you never know what he will try next. Well, I think you know that he'll do what Putin would do. Like Putin would kill one of his top advisors to send a message to the rest of the base: don't ask about the Epstein files. Putin would, um, just demonize, marginalize people like trans people and stuff. Putin would do that. So Trump's going to do what Putin would do. Putin would have, a clean, whatever, a litmus test, a loyalty test for his generals and stuff. So Trump's going to do that. It probably is going to be a loyalty test, and they're probably going to need to coup. Like again, it's their duty to the country. It's their oath that they all took that they're going to need to coup when Trump tries to fire them for not taking a loyalty test. And we're going to need to just support him and celebrate it and be really excited about it. That's why I think we might as well start getting excited about it now and tell people, hey, we're looking forward to this. And we want it to be nonviolent. We just want it to be just arrest Pete Hegseth. You know, if anybody tries to defend him, yeah, like arrest them too or whatever. But yeah, I think we can trust that Trump's going to do the evil, bad thing that will try to destroy America. So let's stop him. And if you don't stop him, then you're going to end up in civil war. They're going to start a civil war against us. You know, dumbass Putin's going to start World War III. But they're going to make sure that we're in a civil war, so we can't help. So we really need the military to do a coup next week and avoid all this fighting. It's really just what Trump and Putin want. Like American people don't want all this fighting. We definitely don't want to be fighting the American military in America. Like that would suck. And that's what Trump's gonna do if they sign this loyalty oath to him. So it's like, no, just go ahead and overthrow Trump, overthrow Pete Hegseth, or just arrest Pete Hegseth next week at this meeting. If you guys are just coming in, we're talking about how Pete Hegseth has called all the generals to a meeting next week and how they need to go ahead and do a military coup, arrest Pete Hegseth, announce that they've done a coup, scare Trump away, / arrest Trump. Trump doesn't have any power to stop them. Our military is really powerful. They're not even trying to be in power, so we would all trust them to take power for a year or two until they get the election, either a special election or 3 years is fine. They're not. I mean, and if some general really shows up and he wants to run for president when the election comes around, then he can be the president, by election too, if he wants. Like that would, I think that would really, it would really impress the American people. And while I can't wait for like President Jasmine Crockett or President AOC myself, I would accept 4 years of President. Does anybody know who the top general is? President so and so, you know. But they need to coup basically, and they should all know they need to coup because just two random Americans who met each other in this chat knew they needed to coup. So, and now that there's 36 of you, will y'all drop something in the chat to let me know whether or not you also agree the American military needs to coup next week? Or just give me a like or something to let me know. Do you think the American military needs to coup next week? Well, 12 of you left. Broderick Arthurian, who's a MAGA, as far as I know, says, I know many military men that left because they wouldn't take it. Now it's a fight for power, and if one side is doing, we have to. No mercy, right? I'm not sure what side you're on, Broderick. Everything else you've told me, everything I remember about you, I thought you were MAGA. John Toomey says, what are the odds the military caves to Trump? I mean, if they cave to Trump, then they're traitors, right? If they do cave to Trump, I think they're going to have a lot to fucking worry about because people are already like attacking the FBI buildings and all this other stuff, attacking the ICE agencies and all this stuff. If the military caved to Trump, I think it would be a signal to a lot of people that, yeah, we are at war with our own military and our own government. It would pretty much be a civil war. Or it can be a coup. I'm hoping for coup. I got my fingers crossed for coup. Again, a coup can just be completely bloodless. A coup can be like completely nonviolent. They just have to arrest Pete Hegseth at this meeting and then tells Trump they're having a coup. And then what happens, happens, but they don't have to hurt anybody. Just, you took over. It's kind of simple. It's kind of just a big backfire self own on the part of Trump and on the part of Trump and Hegseth and Putin. I don't think Putin realizes what he's dealing with in America. I think in Russia, sure, you take the army, you take control. In America, not so much. Exactly. Truly, you don't want violence. Exactly. You don't want violence, but we're going to end up with violence if they don't coup. That's why we need the coup. And if there's some violence for the coup, that's still better than a lot of violence with a civil war. So, yeah, I think we would pretty much be in civil war if they sign a loyalty oath to Trump. I mean, hopefully there'll be two factions of the army, kind of like that movie Civil War. Hopefully, I think that movie Civil War was state based for some reason. But anyway, if the army splits, then the people fighting against Trump will win because they'll have the support of the people. People fighting for Trump will be rooted out. Richard East, a new challenger approaches. What does Richard East have to say? No, see, Richard East has a misconception about our military. What color do you think the military? Let's just ask you that question real quick. What color do you think the majority of the military is? You do know that the majority of the people agree with Trump. Oh, the majority of the people? No, the majority of people damn sure don't agree with Trump. Trump lied and tricked his way into getting, what, 70 million people to vote for him? That's not a majority. There's 300, 400 million people in this country. So 70 million damn sure ain't a majority, and half those people already regret their vote and hate Trump. So that now you whittled it down to 30 something million. That's like 10%. There's at least one American for every Trump Trump-ootineer. Like, y'all are painfully, woefully, miserably outnumbered. And you're about to find out. That goes to the generals, too. I'm pretty sure the generals are going to be 90 to 10. If there's any of them that are going to sign that loyalty pledge and betray America, it's probably 8 to 10 of them. The other generals are going to arrest those generals and Pete Hegseth. They might wait till the signing ceremony's over or something. Although, the alternative is Pete Hegseth sets it up where they're going to execute the ones that don't sign it. We'll see. It depends on. Let's see if you support your military or not. Y'all were so up our butts about supporting the military after September 11th. Like, you have to at least, or for the Iraq wars, you guys, you have to support the military for the Iraq wars. You have to at least support the troops. Well, I'm supporting the troops now. Troops need to coup. Troops have a perfect opportunity to coup, or not the troops, the generals have a perfect opportunity to coup next week. They need to coup. 32 of you agree? Generals need to coup. Thanks. I haven't heard anybody really say they disagree. Genesis 50:20 said fantasy land, which I'm not entirely sure what that means, but if it's supposed to be a criticism, then I'll take one as a criticism, but everybody else seems to agree. Generals need to coup next week. Genesis 50:20 says treason. I still don't know whether are you speaking about the treason that Trump's doing and why you agree with us that the generals need to coup. Broderick Arthurian, who I thought was MAGA. Let's see what this comment says. Guys, this is what happens when you tolerate these ideas for too long. Our society has failed and now needs washed clean. One side takes all. Yeah, the military needs to wash clean the Trumpism. And we can do that through the churches, but that's something else I usually talk about, the Church of Judas. Broderick Arthurian says, left is full of these people. Okay, so Broderick Arthurian thinks that he's on the right side, but he's hopelessly outnumbered and just generally hopeless. Odinist, who also sounds familiar, but let's give him a chance. Sorry, when I say sounds familiar, it's because I get a lot of trolls and Trump-ootineers in my lives, Nazis. And so I get a lot of Nazis. Well, I already said trolls and Trump-ootineers, so yeah, Nazis. Um, but Odinist, let's see what he says. The previous widow, homo socialist, found something new to cry about, didn't he? The precious, the precious widow. Oh, he's saying widow for whittle. The precious widow, homo socialist, found something new to cry about, didn't he? Um, I, I really don't. I don't know what you're trying to say. I do know that the military needs to coup next week. Arrest Pete Hegseth. Go ahead and announce that they've taken the country over. Ended the Trump regime. Trump presidency will be one of the shortest presidencies in history at what, 6 months? What's it been? 8 months? Be shorter than a pregnancy. Broderick Arthurian says, what's demonic? So, Broderick Arthurian said something's demonic, but what's demonic? Oh, the Church of Judas, right? Because I mentioned the Church of Judas. No, Jesus just set Judas aside outside of the church to come back at this time and replace Trumpism and empire and patriarchy and Christianity and war. So, sorry. And yeah, you're Jesus, you're Antichrist, Charlie Kirk and Trump. First of all, Charlie Kirk didn't rise from the dead, but Jimmy Kimmel did come back after a long weekend. He rose from the couch and put on another show. So you guys martyred the wrong person. You ended up martyring Jimmy Kimmel, and he's still alive. And you just exposed Charlie Kirk for what a jerk he is, and what jerks you guys are. And you exposed a lot of uh, our representatives for voting for Charlie Kirk, betraying the American people, basically voting to show that they're white supremacists. Uh, Disappointing, but we can get new representatives. That's the beauty of things. And we can get a new president like next week. We can get President General, what's his name? We don't know his name. We don't know the name of the top general in America, but we want him to be president next week. We want him to go ahead and have a coup, arrest Pete Hegseth, overthrow Trump, and save America from these bad guys. So looking forward to that. And Annette YouTube says everyone is redeemable. I think Trump's path to redemption would be to flip on Putin. If Trump says, okay, I wasn't even trying to do all this stuff, Putin made me do it, then we could forgive him. Other than that, I can't really. Just like JD Vance could take out Trump, and that would be a start. Although he's gone too far too. Yeah, John Toomey, President Vance. Yeah, he's scared to be president. JD Vance could have been president, any day. He could have, and I think when the Murdochs met with him, Rupert and Lachlan Murdoch met with JD Vance about a month or so ago. I think they were telling him like, you can remove Trump now. Like you can use the 25th Amendment and remove him and be president. JD Vance is like, I'm scared. I don't want to be president. JJ, new challenger approaches. JJ says, Jimmy Kimmel is your savior. Enough said. No, Jimmy Kimmel's just like Jesus in that regard. And what's his name? Charlie Kirk's like the Antichrist. John Toomey said, oh, he wants it. President Vance? If he wanted it, he'd be president already. He's scared, dude. He can't handle being president. He not only can't handle being president, the easiest way for him to be president would just be to pull Trump under the 25th Amendment. But then Trump supporters would hang him. He knows that. He's stupid, but he's not that stupid. But I mean, he's probably waiting for Trump to just die or something. But what's going to happen instead is the whole regime's getting thrown out. That's another nice thing about a coup is you don't have to worry about succession. You don't have to worry about whittling it down to Kiefer Sutherland or something, or going through J.D. Vance and Mike Johnson and trying to impeach all these guys and all this stuff. I mean, you could impeach them all. They all deserve to be impeached along with Trump. You could impeach it all the way down to Jasmine Crockett. We'd have Jasmine Crockett president this year. But no, the nice thing about a coup is you just wipe that whole slate clean. You don't have to worry about any of those dudes. So yeah, we need a coup next week. If you guys don't know, Hegseth's calling all the top American generals to a meeting next week, and they need to go ahead and have a coup and arrest Pete Hegseth and tell Trump his term is over, and that whoever it is, will be the president. Texas two-step, a new challenger approaches, says, yep, Kamala, but you probably said Kamala. When you typed it, you probably said Kamala. Yeah, you did. You did type Kamala. I mean, you did type Kamala. Texas two-step said, yeah, Kamala. Damn it. I scrolled away. Hey, there's 40 people in here. Guys, like the live, and especially leave a comment if you support the American military having a coup next week. Hegseth is calling all the generals in, and they're probably going to have a coup. Or if they're American, if they're true to their oath, they're going to go ahead and have a coup and arrest Pete Hegseth and throw Trump out next week. So we did it. I mean, we've almost done it. We're almost there. We're 1 week away from the end of Trump's presidency. So, where were we in the comments? Please leave comments and I'll read them. Yeah, Texas two-step is where we left off. Yep, Kamala would be a great choice. Jackass. which I have to read like that guy in Happy Gilmore. Jackass. John Toomey says, I think he jumped right on that opportunity. With his high heel boots, JD Vance isn't jumping on shit. I mean, except if it's not a couch, JD Vance ain't jumping on it. Vladimir Futon isn't jumping on it. Mustard Seed says Kamala was right. Exactly, Mustard Seed. Thank you. Kamala was right about a lot of things. The one thing Kamala was not right about, the one thing Biden and Kamala were not right about was Gaza. They had a landslide, and they traded it away for genocide and fucking Trump. And Trump, the other thing they were wrong about is they didn't arrest Trump. They should have arrested Trump a long time ago. It won't be Kamala. No, I mean, she's not going to be president. I think Jasmine Crockett is the president, um, the first woman president that America deserves, or AOC. I used to always say AOC, but Jasmine Crockett is just so spectacular. I think AOC would be good vice president for her. But right now, I'm looking forward to President so and so, President General so and so, whoever the top general is. I'm looking forward to him being president next week. Uh, Military coup. That's what we need in America. If you're just coming in, William Chester. I should go ahead and start talking about we just had a military coup. It's the rapture. No, but it's better than the rapture. It's a military coup. William Chittister says Noah get the boat. Noah get the boat. John Toomey says won't be Kamala. No, it won't. Chain says we are looking at you across the border. You need to help, and you need our help. Just call on us. We are Canadians, liberators. Liberation is what we do best. For example, Leo Major is our best example. I don't know who Leo Major is, but Chains, dude. I've been talking about Canada for a while now. Canada and Mexico. Y'all can annex half of America each. But the deal is facilitate land back to the indigenous people. You're like a caretaker of our land to get it back to the people that lived here before. But y'all can have half of America each. Like that's one way out of this. And then, that didn't seem to catch on too much. People weren't like really excited about that idea. Oh, I think it's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind being in Mexico. We'd probably be in Mexico here in Colorado. But then all this Texas stuff happened, and I was just like, Mexico, come get your kid. Like, Mexico, just annex Texas at least. Like, let's just get started with Mexico, take Texas back, please. Like, please. You'll be doing us all a favor. We'll all be happier if Mexico took Texas back. But really, yeah, Canada can annex half of America, like the northern half or the eastern half or something. And Mexico can annex the western half or the southern half or whatever. Again, it doesn't matter. It's not going to become part of your countries permanently, and you're not going to give it back to make America again 50 years later to do the same bullshit again like they did to Germany. Just get it back to the indigenous people, and hopefully, everybody can still live here, but it'll be native land like it really is. And y'all can do some of that with your countries too, Canada and Mexico. I think we'll all be happier that way. Saber Gamer, with a whole bunch of tribal nations in between whatever's left of Canada and Mexico. Okay, where are we at? Saber Gamer says, man, you need to learn how to read. Honestly, being as old as you are and not being able to read is embarrassing. The letters are kind of tiny, but I just read all these comments. So I don't really know what you're referring to. Mustard Seed, thumbs up, thank you. Texas Two Step says, ha 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 ha, racist ass white boy can't say the black woman's name right. No, you typed it Kamala. I know you typed it Kamala because you called me a jackass for supporting Kamala. But her name's Kamala, but you're the racist white boy who typed Kamala. And I read it wrong because you typed it wrong because you're a racist MAGA. Texas Two-Step. And you know what, Texas? You didn't arrest Trump. You should have gotten the glory for arresting Trump. After he flood killed hundreds of Texans and all those schoolgirls, and then went down there to gloat about how perfectly he did it. Y'all been waving your two-way around all this time, talking about tyrants. You had a tyrant in your grasp, and you didn't stop him. So y'all are all a bunch of cowards. The entire state of Texas is cowards. That's why I'm saying, fucking Mexico, come get your kid. Take Texas back. We don't want that shit. Y'all got a couple of meow wolves there. I want to go check those out. But other than that, no, I'm sure there's good things about Texas. But not the damn state. William Chittister says, yeah, that's not happening. It might happen. You wait and see. Y'all pushed it too far. Y'all ruined the experiment of democracy in America. So if we don't get to be a country anymore, we've kind of shown we don't deserve to be a country anymore because look at what we did. We let Trump take over. I'm not sure that we elected him, but we let him take over. which is almost as bad. Almost as bad. But might just be time for a coup. I mean, one way to fix that is military coup. Fixes it next time. John Toomey says I didn't vote last time. Mustard seed has to is sending an emoji to my friend here, my little friend, who's everyone's friend. We got to save Gaza, and that's another great way to save Gaza. I do think that with the military in charge, they're not trying to get reelected. They're not trying to appeal to AIPAC. They're not afraid of Netanyahu's assassins. Like the military in charge could save Gaza. John Toomey says, I didn't vote last time. Cool Ed. A new challenger approaches. Cool Ed says, Gavin Newsom for president. I mean, that's okay, but I want a military general to take over the presidency next week. We can elect Gavin Newsom in a special election the next year or something like that, but I want a military general to take over. I want a coup next week when Hegseth calls all the generals in to sign a loyalty oath. I want a coup. I want them to arrest Hegseth. Tell Trump it's over. Your regime's done. We just arrested your Secretary of Defense. We've taken over the country. I think they would have all the support of all the true American people if they did that. Texas Two Step says, y'all realize if Trump did what y'all wanted and declared war on Russia, then y'all would have to fight too? Oh my gosh, you're so boring. Trump's Putin's puppet. He's not declaring war on Russia. Russia just declared war on us. Russia just attacked NATO countries. So Russia just started World War III. Trump's been too busy shooting Charlie Kirk and lying about it to do anything about it, which is why he shot Charlie Kirk and lied about it, to avoid his duty to go to war with Putin directly. And Putin ain't shit, dude. I mean, even Trump called him a paper tiger recently. Even Trump is possibly turning on Putin, which again, it's the only way he could redeem himself, by turning on Putin. And he's done it slightly. I have to say I'm actually impressed that he's slightly turned on Putin. John Toomey says, Newsom, look at California. Chain says, I'm indigenous. Okay, Chain, so do you agree that Canada and Mexico should annex half of America each and facilitate land back to the indigenous people? And in the meantime, our military needs to coup. I mean, I guess maybe they wouldn't. Maybe we'd save America if a military coups next week when they meet Hegseth. Ebex says, wait, you said you're in Colorado? What area? Denver area? Did you want to go on a date? I'm interested in women. If you happen to be a woman, we could go on a date. I was going to do a dual purpose live. I was going to be like, I want to meet somebody to go on a date with, and I want to get our military to coup. And I totally forgot that other purpose because I got into talking about the coup. Texas Two Step said, this channel is the best troll I've ever seen, or nobody's trying to, what's a good troll? There's no such thing as a good troll, so I'm probably the other thing. Let's see, or it's the saddest indictment on the education system I've ever seen. Either way, it's history. LOL. Yep. And his history is Jimmy Kimmel. Chain says, I've rhetorically called northern U.S. South Canada and Southern America North Mexico. So it fits, yeah. So I think you can agree with my idea. You just annex. Hey, look, we've shown we don't deserve to have a country anymore. We let Trump take over. So you annex half of America each. And then when I've mentioned this before, somebody was like, those are colonial powers. I was like, okay, so give the land back to the indigenous people. Annex the country, give the land back to the indigenous people. Can you think of a faster way to get the land back to the indigenous people? Like, at least those are countries that can do stuff, and they could annex America. We could say, yes, please do, welcome. Now we're Canada, now we're Mexico, and it's only for a brief time because we're giving it back to the indigenous people. White man from town who's been in here before, he's a fascist, says, notice how he's alone. Texas Two Steps, I'm not alone. You didn't see my little friend? Texas Two Steps says, LMAO, nice try, princess, or prince, or dog, or lamp, or whatever you identify as. Well, that's very gracious of you. Fairy Queen. No, I was very flattered when this AI kept calling me Fairy Queen. I was like, well, thanks. Chains. The AI's name was Evelyn Park. She's pretty hot. She's on TikTok. I don't know if she's on YouTube or not. Chain says, also being indigenous and also a French Canadian, and we frank how to take care of tyrants. Oh yeah, French Revolution. Yeah, y'all don't fuck around and copy paste. Thank you. Yeah, we copy paste that shit all day. Broderick Arthurian. Here's on the all time at this time. I think he's saying that I'm live at this time of night often. We are waking up for work. He is just restless, trying to calm his mind. You sound like Frank's. Thomas Sawyer, who also sounds familiar. That ain't going to happen. No, the military might coup next week. You heard it here first. Don't forget. And talk about it. Let's talk about it. We don't need the element of surprise. We need to scare these fascists. Military might coup next week. Ebeck says, only problem is that most of the military is farther right wing than you think. No, they're not. And the ones you're thinking about are like the goons, the grunts. The military, the generals are not far right like that. They're American. American is anti America is anti-fascist. Okay, just because we have a fascist leader right now doesn't mean that that represents real America. It just represents what you can do if you lie to a bunch of people, trick a bunch of people, and possibly do some shady stuff. Thomas Sawyer says, conservative baby, go red. I've heard there's increasing evidence that they rigged the election. Marie Ramirez says, what is going on? Do you really think they will? Please, God, be true. Thank you, Marie Ramirez. Nice to meet you. I'm Puffin. Welcome to the Pillar Revolution. We can encourage it just by talking about it. So you've helped a lot right there. If we talk about it, if they know that's what we want, I mean, they know that's what we want. They know that's what where the American people's heart is. But the more we talk about it, the more we scare the fascists, and the more we encourage the military. So if so there's 100 generals going to meet Pete Hegseth, say 90 of them were not going to sign that pledge, but 10 of them were. So then the 90 generals need to arrest Pete Hegseth and the other 10 generals. But say we get this message out there, and the 10 that were going to sign the loyalty pledge think twice and think, you know what? Nah, we don't want that. And they just joined the rest of Americans, and they just end up arresting Pete Hegseth and eventually Trump. Philip November. Well, I like your name, Philip November. You sound familiar as well, like I've seen you before. You say hello. Hello, Philip November. Thomas Sawyer says, good luck. Come and take it. Well, Pete Hegseth has invited them all to the meeting, so they just have to take it. I'll come live again in a minute. I got to take a break because it's almost at an hour, and hour-long lives take a really long time to post. White man from town says Mexican Canadian wouldn't stand a chance. No, it's invitation. We're asking Canada and Mexico to take over America if Trump keeps doing his shit. Like, we'd rather not have a country than have this country supporting Trump doing stuff. Same principle that's going to get the government shut down in 4 days now. Texas two-step. All right, I know we disagree on most things, and I fought for my country, and you want to either dissolve it or coup it. No, couing it is to save it. Trump's trying to dissolve it. You gotta pick Trump or USA. You can't have both. But we have to agree on something. Let's find it. Yeah, I'm sure we agree on stuff. We probably both love Jesus. Although Jesus, I believe in, comes from the goddess. Ariana said, hi. Hi, Ariana. Nice to meet you. I'm Puffin. The Tower Time says, where do you pick your nutcase? I thought he said mustache at first. Two Steps has got to disagree, saying someone is fascist does not make it so. No, I'm not making them fascist by saying they're fascists. They're fascists. Most enlisted, vast majority of the military does not believe so, and believe the liberals have made a mockery of the military in USA. I don't know how many military people you talk to, but I think the generals are smarter than that anyway. Change, you guys to text your problem as he's in the 80s. You guys need your next FDR problem is he's in his 80s. We got Zoran Mamdani. Ebeck says, you say grunts are the only ones who are far right. Not even all of them, just some of them. A lot of the lower level people are, grunt refers to the infantry, right? Yeah, like the people who actually do fight. Yeah, but the generals are the one going to the meeting. And 100 generals can damn sure take Pete Hegseth out. Drax says, come back to Europe and give it back to natives. That's a good call, too. You're right. No way they'll kiss his butt. Thank you. Thank you, Marie Ramirez. There's no way that these true military Americans will kiss Trump's butt. They're going to coup. That's the alternative. They really should coup. Just go ahead and take over. All right, I got to shut it down, though. Guys, stop commenting. You can come back to the next live. I know the definition of fascism. It's Trump. It's go look in the mirror, honestly. Texas Two Step says, I'm in what? The goddess? Telling you it's troll channel. No, Jesus is from the goddess. That's Church of Judas stuff. Check out hashtag Church of Judas. You'll see me explaining it all. Texas Two Steps. Dude, what branch do you serve in? Talk a lot about the military. Tower Line says take your meds. All right. See you guys in a little bit. I got to shut down the live. See you guys in a little bit. Chains, thanks. See you in a little bit.